My name is Karen Woods, and I'm standing on the balcony of a stunning resort overlooking the serene beaches of Hawaii. The setting sun casts a golden glow across the ocean, but the beauty of the scene does little to calm the storm inside me. What was supposed to be a dream family vacation has become a tangle of heartache and betrayal. As I watch the waves lap at the shore, I think back to how it all began. This trip was meant to celebrate my husband David's parents, who had just reached their 50th wedding anniversary. For the past 15 years, David and I had worked tirelessly to build a stable life together. Both of us were executives, juggling demanding careers, but we always made time for family. Though we chose not to have children, we ensured that our bond with his parents remained strong, inviting them on yearly vacations to show our appreciation for their unwavering support. This year, Hawaii was the destination of choice. David's father, Robert, had always dreamed of returning to the island where he and his wife, Evelyn, had spent their honeymoon. At 78, Robert's health was declining, and Evelyn had taken on the role of his caregiver. Their excitement about revisiting Hawaii touched my heart, and without hesitation, I offered to cover the costs. The smiles on their faces made every penny worthwhile. But as I look back now, I see the turning point, the moment when everything began to unravel. David's younger sister, Lisa, had asked if she could join the trip. Lisa, a 36-year-old stay-at-home mom with 2 kids, had been struggling financially ever since her husband's business took a downturn. She frequently lamented her inability to afford a proper vacation, and out of compassion, I extended an invitation to include her and her children, offering to cover their expenses as well. At the time, I thought it was a kind gesture. Family supporting family. But now, I see it was my first mistake. From the moment we arrived in Hawaii, Lisa's behavior raised red flags. On the first evening, as the family gathered for a group photo against the backdrop of the setting sun, she turned to me with a sharp request. "Karen, could you step aside for a moment? I'd like a picture of just my family." Her words hit me like a cold gust of wind. I tried to brush it off, thinking she simply wanted a keepsake with her children, but the look in her eyes told a different story. David noticed my discomfort but stayed silent, not wanting to stir up conflict. I convinced myself that this was a minor slight and resolved to enjoy the trip. However, Lisa's actions over the following days made it clear that this was no misunderstanding. At every opportunity, she found ways to exclude me. Whether it was seating arrangements at restaurants or activities on the beach, I was always left on the outside looking in. The most blatant incident happened during a catamaran tour. The boat had room for 6 people, but when the seating was arranged, Lisa made sure to sit beside David while positioning her children and parents near her. "This is perfect for a family photo," she remarked with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I ended up on a separate boat, surrounded by strangers, while Lisa gleefully posed for pictures that later flooded her social media, with captions like, "Family memories in paradise." As the days went on, Lisa's attitude shifted from passive-aggressive to outright entitled. She began indulging in the luxurious amenities of the resort with reckless abandon. Spa treatments, shopping sprees, and extravagant room service orders became a daily occurrence. Each time she signed the bill to my room, she'd flash a quick, dismissive smile, as if she were entitled to my generosity. The breaking point came during a dinner at an exclusive waterfront restaurant that I had booked weeks in advance. I had planned the seating so that David and I could enjoy the view together, with Robert and Evelyn across from us. But Lisa had other ideas. Before anyone could take their seats, she swooped in, placing herself next to David and giving her parents the prime view of the ocean. "This is such a special moment for the family," she said, her voice dripping with fake sentimentality. I was relegated to the far end of the table, near the bustling waiter station, with my back to the sunset. David, visibly frustrated, suggested rearranging the seating, but Lisa quickly shut him down. "It's fine," she said curtly. "We're all family here." Throughout the meal, Lisa dominated the conversation, steering it toward nostalgic stories that excluded me. Each time I tried to join in, she skillfully redirected the topic. When the waiter brought the check, she nonchalantly ordered an expensive bottle of champagne, saying, "Let's toast to family." Her audacity left me speechless. That night, as David and I returned to our room, he finally voiced his concerns. "Lisa's spending is out of control," he said, his tone heavy with guilt. "She's treating this like an all-expenses-paid fantasy." I nodded, my frustration bubbling to the surface. "It's not just the money, David. She's treating me like I don't belong." By the final day of the trip, I had made a decision. I approached the hotel's front desk and requested that all charges be itemized and separated. The manager complied, and as I reviewed the bill, I felt a mix of anger and resolve. Lisa's expenses far exceeded anything I had anticipated, and it was clear she had been taking advantage of my kindness. That morning, I suggested to David that he take his parents to the airport early, leaving me and Lisa to check out later. He hesitated, but eventually agreed, understanding my unspoken intent. As Lisa and I stood in the hotel lobby, the manager handed her the bill for her portion of the charges. The color drained from her face as she read the total, an amount that would take months for her to repay. "You're not covering this?" she asked, her voice trembling with disbelief. I met her gaze steadily. "I've already paid for the family's expenses. These are yours." Lisa's attempts to use her credit card were met with rejection. Panic set in as she realized the gravity of the situation. She made frantic calls to her husband, who was furious about her reckless spending. After a tense negotiation, he managed to transfer enough funds to cover the bill. Lisa's demeanor during the taxi ride to the airport was a mix of anger and humiliation, but I felt no sympathy. She had pushed me aside at every turn, and this was the natural consequence of her actions. At the airport, the tension reached its peak. While David, his parents, and I boarded our flight in business class, Lisa was left in economy, her frustration palpable. Throughout the flight, I couldn't help but reflect on how a trip meant to bring the family closer had instead exposed deep fractures. When we landed, Lisa wasted no time spinning her version of events, accusing me of humiliating her and intentionally excluding her. Her theatrics continued until Evelyn, weary of the drama, stepped in. "Lisa, that's enough," she said firmly. "Karen has done more than enough for this family. It's time you took responsibility for your actions." Lisa's protests grew louder, but her arguments crumbled under the weight of the truth. The photos she had posted online, the ones showcasing her deliberate attempts to exclude me, became the undeniable evidence of her behavior. Even Robert, usually quiet and reserved, voiced his disappointment. "Karen has treated us with nothing but kindness," he said softly. "It's time you showed some gratitude." As we left the airport, a heavy silence hung over the family. Lisa's actions had left a scar, and I wondered if things would ever truly heal. But as I sat beside David, his hand in mine, I knew one thing for certain. I had stood up for myself. I had drawn a line and refused to be treated as an outsider. And for that, I felt a quiet sense of victory. Once we returned home, the aftermath of the trip lingered. David's parents expressed their gratitude to me privately, acknowledging the effort and expense I had undertaken to make the vacation special. Evelyn confided that she had grown increasingly frustrated with Lisa's behavior, but didn't want to cause a scene during the trip. Her words were a balm to my wounded spirit. Meanwhile, Lisa's financial troubles continued to mount. Her husband, now aware of her extravagant spending habits, demanded accountability. The tension between them spilled over into family gatherings, creating an atmosphere of unease. Lisa's attempts to paint herself as the victim fell flat as the evidence of her actions became undeniable. David and I focused on rebuilding our peace. While the trip had revealed cracks in the family dynamic, it had also strengthened our bond. We agreed to be more discerning about future invitations, ensuring that generosity was met with respect and appreciation. Reflecting on the experience, I realized that standing up for myself was not just about setting boundaries, but also about reclaiming my sense of worth. The lessons I learned on that balcony in Hawaii would stay with me, a reminder that self-respect is the foundation of any meaningful relationship.